Joining me now is Krish O'Meara Vignarajah, a former senior advisor at the United States State Department under both Secretaries John Kerry and Hillary Clinton. Krish is now the president and CEO of Global Refuge, a nonprofit serving newcomers seeking safety, support, and share in the American dream. Alan Orr is a longtime immigration attorney and founder of the Orr Immigration Law Firm. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us. Alan, I'm not a lawyer. You know that. Most of our viewers are not lawyers. And I don't really want to say the word BS on TV, but this is what this is. The government's not losing cases for any other reason than they're actually doing things that are not legal.
That's correct. And once again, the issue is not about the cases. The issue is about the funding, right? It's burning money in these detention facilities and funding these different companies. And I just want to give you sort of a case study of Alcatraz here in Florida, where they built it last year. It's running out of funding already. It's filled with lawsuits. There's questions about $92 million that went to a potty company. It never was about immigration enforcement and deterrence, because now that you're closing it means that you weren't about the enforcement. You weren't about the immigration detention. You can't do long-term detention. So that's sort of a story that's repeating itself over and over again in court. And as you said before, the difference between an immigration judge and these local judges are they're federal judges, and they don't fall under the executive branch. Under the executive branch, everybody now hails to the presidency rather than to the Constitution. And these judges are hailing to the Constitution, and that's what's causing the conflict.
So, Krish, the government would like these people to all be thought of as illegal, and they just round up illegal people. The reason that terminology doesn't work is because a lot of these people are not illegal. If you're an asylum seeker, you're not legal. That's actually a status. Many of these people who ICE arrest as they come out of court are not undocumented. They have a document. They actually come out of the court with a document where a judge tells them, come back in 6 months or a year, and we will continue to adjudicate you. As the two that I described are people who are within status. There are some people who are out of status. But the government is trying to convey the idea that these ICE and CBP people are out there rounding up whatever number they come up with, 11 or 13 million illegals. The legal complexity of this is that many of these people have some degree of right to be in this country, at least until their case is adjudicated.
Exactly right. And I know the administration wants the narrative to line up with their campaign rhetoric, but it doesn't line up with reality. And exactly to your point about who's being targeted, I just want to highlight one group that Global Refuge serves and, doesn't get enough attention, which are lawfully admitted refugees. You gave one example.
Yes.
These are people our own government invited here after a rigorous years-long vetting process. But earlier this year, the administration launched an initiative called Operation Paris, in which over 5,000 of these lawfully admitted refugees in Minnesota, which has obviously been a target of the administration, many were arrested without warrants. They were detained. They were flown using taxpayer dollars to detention centers in Texas for reinvestigation. In one particularly egregious case, agents arrested a nursing refugee mother from Myanmar. And even though she had an active legal status, she was transferred hundreds of miles away, separated from her 5-month-old U.S. citizen. And I think just the difference of what we're seeing now, in the first term, devastating stories of harm and public outcry may have at least served as speed bumps. But it's different now. And in late February, USCIS and ICE doubled down, and they actually expanded the reinvestigation, revetting, and detention to lawfully admitted refugees countrywide. And so that's where I think what we are seeing is not just an illegal, but a really dangerous trend.
Or Alan, I showed a picture of Todd Lyons. He's stepping down from ICE. It was announced last week that his replacement will be somebody named David Venturella, who previously worked for ICE before becoming an executive for the private prison company GEO Group. You are always somebody who reminds us about this revolving door between the government and these private groups, who are a big player and a big reason for all of this, right? The reason we are in the business of warehousing people, sweeping them up and warehousing them, is because this is super profitable.
Right. Super profitable. And just to go back a minute, because I have to say this, documents are what give people humanity. Birth gives people humanity. So whether they have documents or not, we can remove people with dignity and respect. And so it is much a money spin right now that these private prisons are engaged in. And that's what we really need to focus on across the board. We see corruption in buying prisons and corruption in the management of those prisons. And that's where the enforcement and the fraud needs to be found.
Krish, talk to me about You mentioned the refugee situation. It's stunning the number of refugees America takes per capita compared to OECD developed countries. It's basically nothing, literally close to zero. And I think almost 100% of whom are going to be white South Africans, Afrikaners, who we strangely have determined are subject to a genocide or ethnic cleansing or something. They haven't even figured, like, white South Africans don't even say that's true.
Yeah. So what the administration did was they lowered the PD, the presidential determination, from what had been 125,000 to 7,500. That means it is a historic low. And when we lead, other countries follow. And when we step back, other countries use that as an excuse. This is a program that had always had bipartisan support. We've resettled as many refugees under Republican administrations as Democratic ones. President Reagan resettled over 200,000 refugees. And it's incredibly problematic because the administration can say that they want to strengthen legal pathways as they crack down on other immigrants, but that is not what we have seen.
Yeah, and by the way, Alan, the reason we do this and the reason other countries do this, other than the legality of it, we have global agreements, it works. It works. Most countries understand these refugees come here. They certainly are not looking to break the law because then they'll be unrefugeed and may have to go back to their own country. They tend to come here and create jobs and in many cases create businesses. This part of the system wasn't actually broken.
That's right. I think we should look at Japan and even some Germany, of those limited societies that closed out immigrants and now are trying to bring them back in.
Yes.
What we've seen already within this administration, the Trump administration said, look, we need farmers. Let's increase the H-2Bs, more visas. We need these doctors, right? Every immigrant that's coming to this country isn't here to hurt us. This collective judgment and punishment is our biggest problem in immigration. And that's why we're losing students. We're losing tourists. Tourism from Canada is 42% down. That's almost $10 billion worth of tourism money left. That's just incredible.
No, I mean, I grew up in Canada. That's all most Americans did. Most American trip was to America. I mean, that's what it was. You didn't all the time I was growing up, you didn't even need a passport to come to America. That was that common. But Krish, we had the Chancellor of Germany who worked for an American company, who's I think studied in America, and his kids may have studied in America, who's saying, I'm telling my kids, don't go to America, don't go to study there, don't go to do that. I mean, it's not just that we're not letting people in. The rest of the world is deciding that the United States is not friendly, which is great to other countries that don't have these ridiculous immigration issues.
Exactly. I mean, they're looking at what we're doing and they're saying this is an opportunity for us to capitalize on. Canada's recruiting IT engineers. Other countries realize that when we have had an economy that has been fueled in significant part by immigrants, almost half of the Fortune 500 companies were created by an immigrant or their child. Patents are disproportionately, Nobel Prizes disproportionately, awarded to immigrants. They're looking at this, China, Russia, as an opportunity because that used to be our contrast. It used to be that we were a beacon of hope, and it served both our moral and global humanitarian leadership interests, but also our self-interest. And that, of course, is changing dramatically and to our detriment.